Brewer. I'm going to blame James completely for this, whichever way it goes, because when I went back to my hotel room last night, I was haunted by one of the things that he said, which was, I want all of my work to be a love note. I'm a musician, so I want all of my work to be a love song. And I fell asleep last night thinking about that, and I woke up this morning, ran through my talk a couple times, had this really eerie kind of pit of the stomach moment where I thought, what would happen if I sang this? And I was like, nah, that's a terrible idea. What were you thinking? And I'm walking across from the park, and it started to get stronger and stronger, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. Forget about it. Absolutely no. That is the worst idea you've ever had. How embarrassing could this possibly be? And then about, a couple hours into this morning, I realized, you know what? I figure it's about time for the first web conference opera. So you're going to see a lot of themes that have been kind of touched upon, and I think hopefully this was unplanned, but I think it's going to summarize quite a bit of what we've been learning and kind of absorbing over this last 2 days. So, you guys ready? You'll have to bear with me because I'm going to look at Mark, who's, okay, there he is. Because he's going to change the slides for me. So this is going to be really interesting. All right, so this is called Photoshop Lies, and a bunch of other sobering truths about designing products on the web. Hello. This is my family. We have dance parties in the kitchen just about every day. Those guys are awesome. Now I live here in San Francisco, and I work here in a big old building run by a bunch of executives that work at Twitter HQ. And I spend a lot of time standing around looking at designs. And apparently I've got a thing I do called the design chop. I just do this all the time when I'm talking and I'm really serious about something. I patented it, by the way, so don't try and steal that. But enough about me, because we're here to learn about one of the greatest crimes perpetrated on a group of awesome individuals like yourselves. It's a seductive lie that we've all bought and we don't know, but it's about time to get taught. So why don't we begin? And no, I'm not talking about the Illuminati. And I'm not talking about Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code. And as much as you might like, I'm not talking about UFOs. Oh no, oh no. Photoshop, you damn liar. Photoshop, you're holding us expired. When you introduce a new medium into society, it creates a new environment. And it changes how we think and what we do and our attitudes. And this was from a really cool dude named Marshall. But his name's cut off and it's McLuhan. And this introduces a problem because there's going to be more things that are cut off. But that's okay, because I'll just try and sing it to you. How about that, all right? Well, this is one of the effects of the glories of Photoshop. Madonna looks half her age. Well, all these tools that we buy in, and we erase all the lines and soften her skin. And guess what? This really has a warped effect on our kids and the way that we perceive all of the rest of the people that we're around. And so it's kind of really important that you pay attention, okay? And just for the gentlemen, and well, I guess for the ladies, George Clooney isn't nearly as handsome and as young as he is appearing to be. Because that's all because of our friend Photoshop. Photoshop, you damn liar. Your hold on us is about to expire. Now this one's kind of eerie because it's an animated GIF. And it shows just how influential a little bit of Photoshop magic can be. And I only bring this up and I introduce this because it goes a long way in understanding the tools that we use have a profound effect on us. Another quote from Marshall McLuhan. We shape our tools, and afterwards, our tools shape us. Now we made the iPhone and all these other mobile devices so that we could communicate and be more connected. But instead we walk around staring into glowing rectangles. And I have to admit, more often than I care, I'm staring at my phone when my kids are doing something cool. So we had this amazing thing where we build these things, we design these tools, all these different things that come about, new media, new ways of producing things, and it has this deep psychological impact on us. And then we become shaped by those very things. And the way that we culturally talk and relate and all the things that we do, they're affected by these kinds of tools and all the things that we bring into our lives. Now let's go back a while to the mid-century and some smart dudes who learned geometry. They did cool things with circles and other really cool geometric shapes. There's a bunch of these slides, so just go ahead and go right through them. But you gotta realize, these are all fixed pages, and they change. Oh wait, no, they don't change. That's right, they're not the web. They are totally static pieces of paper. But then, you know, we go and do our work, and we're supposed to create really amazing, beautiful things like this with typographic hierarchy and really cool balance. And turns out that it's just had a profound impact on us being locked in. Again. So let's take a little trip back in time, and we slipped our minds. And we believed it was okay to design for 640 by 480. I don't know who came up with that one and thought it was perfect, but you know, it's okay, we'll forgive them later. And then we got all this room, and oh my God, we did all these cool, crazy things, introduced extra columns, and man, we grew the font size by 1 pixel. And then began the greatest illusion of all, 960. That Jeremy Keith, channeling William Gibson, called a collective hallucination. And I think you can all agree that I think we all participated in this. Photoshop, you damn liar. Because you know, when you create a new document, you have to specify the size of the document. And then, you know, we put 960 by, you know, whatever, 1000, and then here we go. We're locked into stacked designs. And what do you expect? We all just keep on drinking the Kool-Aid. We were trained to create beautiful pixel-perfect pictures of websites. How many of you guys in this room will admit to this being your job? I don't see very many hands. Okay, how many of you will admit to this being your job, say like a few years ago? I see some people in the back that aren't raising their hand. I'm pretty sure that you guys are responsible for at least a couple of those, right? I'm kidding, sort of. But this is the reality. We were trained to create beautiful pictures of websites. All the ways that we manipulate, or pixel fucked, to quote Megan, our way out of our client briefs was to create beautiful pictures. Very static, amazingly rendered pictures of websites. Oh, the big reveal. Yeah, that shit's gotta die. And then I know Don Draper's pretty handsome and all, but the way that we squirreled away and waited for the perfect inspiration to strike, it's kind of a bunch of bullshit, because really, web design is a conversation. Yeah, web design, oh, it's kind of a revelation. The designers and developers and clients and content writers and all these people should actually talk to one another is kind of a radical concept, wouldn't you say? So what do we do now? Where do we go from here? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the code is somewhere near the right road. So we got Markup, structural foundation. It's just about the simplest way to express how this shit doesn't look like a mess. And then the presentation layer, where we get to do all the cool gradients and drop shadows and all the crazy stuff that you want to do, even though you should do flat. Just kidding. Well, we spend most of our time in the presentation layer when we're in Photoshop, but it has its corresponding sibling in CSS. And I'd have to say that right now is about the best time in the world to get into using CSS to do the presentation layer. There's a bunch of tools out there now, like CSS Hat and a few others that will actually take your PSDs and spit out all the rules into beautiful CSS. And then you can drop it right into your site, and bam, you've got a live, working style, no, not style guide, pattern lab. And then there's the thing I love the most, the behavior layer. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. These are all the little things, all the ways that links change color when you hover over them, or something moves when you click it, or all the interactions and animations, and all the little things that make it nuanced in your design. This is the behavior. And there's a bunch of different ways that we can go about doing this. But all I gotta say is maker's gonna make. And that's what I wanna encourage you guys to do. If you aren't currently making, if you aren't using HTML and CSS and JavaScript and jumping in and turning your designs into something that's actually not static and not just a picture, I encourage you, join the revolution. Be a maker. Now this is the story of a good friend of mine. His name's Yaron and he's one of a kind, oh yeah. His handle's Yarcom, on Twitter that is. Now a while ago, Yaron came to me and he said, man, I ain't done this CS shit in a long time. I was doing tables back in '99. And he spent a long while in agency land, and man, I couldn't believe how bad he was taking his hand and typing out a few class names. And so one night we sat down and I convinced him it's not worth it to pay someone to mark up your designs in CSS and HTML. Seriously, dude, come on. You're not getting any younger. Why don't you learn how to code? Now, he didn't really want to agree with me, but then he knew in his heart that I was right, and so he began to redesign his site and code it up by hand. He even made the bubbles animate. It was amazing. Now the next story is about a girl. Her name is Ashley, and she rocked our world at Industry Conf. Now Ashley's story is pretty awesome. She's not a designer or developer technically. She owns an insurance company that she inherited from her dad. And she was so tired of people being completely overwhelmed and pained by the gross and complex forms that it took to fill out a questionnaire in order to be able to even get a quote, that she decided she was going to teach herself Ruby on Rails. I like that. So she went in and she taught herself Rails and she built herself a prototype, and man, she went down to London and showed about 1,000 investment guys that this was the future. And you know what they said? Photoshop, you damn liar. This girl Ashley, man, she can inspire. So now they're building it, and I'm pretty sure her company is going to be way ahead of the competition because she took the time to teach herself how to learn or to code in Ruby on Rails. And this is a little picture of the site. Now, there's a thing like Code Academy and things like Treehouse. And lots of people are learning all kinds of things like JavaScript and Objective-C. That's objectionable to me. But there's never been a better time to kick back and unwind and teach yourself some CSS3. And a lot of people talk about designing in the browser, but it's a pain. Let me explain why, and I think you'll agree. Well, it's not that easy to change things when you're just working in CSS. Oh man, it would be quicker if I move this around in Photoshop, cause it's kind of like a high fidelity sketching tool. Wouldn't you agree? No, I guess 2 or 3. But it'd be better if it was deciding in the browser, which my friend Dan Mall coined in a recent article. And he got up and said it'd be a lot easier if I could just put it in the browser and send it to clients. And I didn't actually know that he and Mr. Frost were working together, so it obviously makes a ton of sense now, doesn't it? Doesn't it, guys? Oh, let's not get into this terrible debate. Web versus native. Well, honestly, I would say that it's worthwhile learning HTML and CSS and probably JavaScript to boot. And like Mandy said, being at least web literate. But the truth is, some of you guys might be building apps. And you might be working with engineers and they might be building in an Objective-C. And you know what? That means that you probably need to learn about some of the NS class controller, blah, blah, shoo, blah, blah. And that way you at least know where to go look when you might need to change the color or when you need to upload an image and swap out a background. All these kinds of things. But basically, at the end of the day, what it means is that you just got to get comfortable. Right? No. Yes? Now, one of my favorite pieces is motion. Now, I was talking about this earlier with the behavior stuff, and we find that, especially at Twitter, one of the biggest things that we run into is it's not just how it looks, it's actually how it behaves, and it's actually the transitions and the animations and the little details that really make or break our product. And so there's more and more there are tools out there that are really making it easier for designers to be able to communicate both to the clients and to the developers how this stuff should work, how it should move, how it should ease in. I mean, seriously, how are you going to show something like this in Photoshop? What do you have, like 10 different screens that you stitch together? I don't think so. Photoshop, you damn liar. All this motion stuff, oh, we needed to get by her. And you can see that all this stuff is critical to the success of an application. It gives it its character, its nuance, its, awesomeness. You can skip this part. So this is the icon for Quartz Composer. Seriously, 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 seriously steep learning curve, but you get badass animations. And After Effects is kinda cool, but it takes a while to get used to all the stuff. I wish they had only half of it. And guys like Facebook are putting out things like Framer.js. And even Keynote works and can pass the test. And let me tell you people, using real data matters, so we don't fool ourselves. And lorem ipsum is fucking evil. Yeah, lorem ipsum is fucking evil. Lorem ipsum is fucking evil. It's evil, it's evil, it's evil. Now, you might wonder why in the world did he put such a profane slide on the screen? Because it's evil. It lures you into thinking that you have what you need to make informed decisions. And the reality is, you're fooling yourself. There's no way that you can tell from some fake Latin text, or maybe real Latin text, I guess, but slapped in somewhere, whether or not your design's actually gonna hold up. I mean, really, guys. If you did this, I really apologize. But for shizzle, I saw Beyonce's, wow, okay. I didn't even read this. That's for shizzle ipsum, apparently. But really, guys, like, everything's the exact same size. It's just perfect so that the whole thing holds up. And what happens when that title, if there's only like 4 words long? Everything's out of balance. Or even better, one of these overextendable things actually is 2 paragraphs long. The whole layout breaks. Seriously, what the fuck? Don't get me started on wireframes. And some of you are gonna call me out by name, because you probably get paid to do these all day long. And there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. I've seen large organizations that actually can benefit from somebody doing wireframes to communicate from one department to another. But I say, screw that. Way faster to go ahead and build something. Either sketch it out, because you can actually tell a whole heck of a lot from a sketch, or go ahead and code it, because it just doesn't take that long, especially something like what you just saw, to rack it up in HTML and actually send that over to both the boss and the client and maybe the lady over in HR and, I don't know, the janitor if he's interested. But this is a little diagram written by a good friend of mine named Sunny D. Oh wait, no, it's Kenneth. It's a little inside joke. Cause interactive means I should be building it in code anyways. And if I need to communicate a quick idea, I'll sketch it out and make it real for you. And well, this comp might just have the right shade of blue. I don't know, wireframes sit in this weird, like, uncanny valley where I'm not entirely sure they're necessary. And besides that, we get this terrible confirmation bias. And confirmation bias, in case you didn't know, is a tendency in people to favor information that confirms and reinforces their beliefs and hypotheses. Photoshop, you damn liar. Whoa, your hold on us is about to expire. Because whether we want to admit it or not, it is incredibly difficult not to have this when you're designing in Photoshop. We're built and programmed. And basically, because we use the tool and it's in its DNA, we want to make the most beautiful thing we can possibly make. Right? So you pick the best photos with a really handsome dude sitting in a, I don't know, cornfield or something, I don't know. And you find the best text, or in my case, we find the best tweets, honestly. All of us on the team have been guilty of this, man. You go and spend 10 minutes looking for a really good tweet. Because, you know, in your comp, it's very important that there's funny tweets. I mean, that's really what's going to make or break the thing and whether or not we get to actually do the project. But we think that way. Whether we want to admit it or not, subconsciously, that's kind of what goes on, you know? So I'm going to throw one of my friends under the bus just a little bit. Because we were working on this idea for a cover photo for profiles on Twitter. Look at that background image. Man, isn't it inspiring? I don't know, James kind of screams like vision, right? Top of the hill, man, like he must have ridden way up there to get this photo. And it's even better because the photo of the person sits at the apex of this mountain, showing how awesome this person is. Man, you really want to follow them because they're kind of, you know, they're obviously ascendant on the top of a hill, so they must have done something right. Well, I kind of pulled him aside and said, hey man, it's not a bad design. I can, you know, the colors are nice and it's actually got enough saturation that I can read the text on top of it. But what happens when Lady Gaga uploads a photo? Ah, shit. Okay, I know, I got a better idea. Everybody loves kittens, right? What happens when somebody uploads kittens? Kittens and marshmallows. How fucking awesome is that? Kittens and marshmallows. Best background photo ever. And I can't read anything about who this person is. So I said to him, brother, you done fucked this one up pretty bad. So I told him, man, you better go back and fix this thing. Don't use parallax at all. So he threw in a background gradient because we use that on some other stuff somewhere and it kind of sort of works. And then he said, hey man, this works, let's do it. Like, can we ship this? And I said, hell no. Back to the drawing board we go. Well, design almost invariably involves compromise, don't you see? Said Brian Lawson beautifully. And it's true because when we get out, we realize that it's all about making trades. What's the best thing that I could do for the client and the user and for the thing that won't screw up the system? Oh yeah. I highly doubt it's a pixel perfect PSD. Sing along with me. Photoshop, you damn liar. A couple of people are singing, you guys are awesome. Photoshop, you damn liar. Well, I used to work at a company called Socialcast a while ago before I worked at Twitter. And we were about to do a major upgrade on our product. And CEO was pretty invested in the process. And actually, I can't play while I tell this story. All right, because this is serious. So we, I don't know, maybe you guys, can you throw something on? Maybe? No? All right. So we're working on this thing, and we've got a great user base going, and we've got some good clients, but we know there's a couple of really important things we need to change, and one we need to add. And so I'm sitting there thinking, we're going to end up spending weeks and weeks and weeks if I jump into Photoshop. Okay, off the table. Don't do that. What do I do? So I jump into code, and I go and I build out some new templates, and I strip out all the CSS, and I basically make a grayscale version of our entire application. And stuff that wasn't working and functional, I just basically wrapped it in a red border, so at least people knew that, like, hey, this doesn't work. Then everything else was totally functional, and all the new things we needed to do and all the new pieces that needed to go in and the hierarchy and the information architecture and all of it, we could test with our real data. We used it for like 2 weeks, beat it to pieces, and at the end of it, all I had to do was go in and apply, for the lack of a better term, a nice veneer on this thing. And we knew that we had a successful product. And as soon as we launched this and rolled it out, Huge response from our clients. They loved it. It was clearer. It made more sense to them. The interactions that we had put in place to create new things were like dead simple, and they totally got it. I guarantee you, had I not done that, we totally would have spent way too long pixel fucking the thing to death and would have come out with some really probably way too hokey and like too much, just too much. And instead of by focusing on the content and the real data, and I mean real data, it was stuff we were posting and commenting on and all that stuff, we were able to successfully launch in an extremely short period of time, I think 4 weeks total, a brand new iteration on our product that yielded a ton of business. So, we can jump into this next idea. And this is something that we did at Twitter when we redesigned last year. And we introduced this whole idea of a expando. It was an internal name for it, still call it expando. Turned out this thing was a bear to get right. And one of our guys named Dave Gamache, God bless his heart, he sat there all through the night. And they prototyped and they made things that seemed quite right. Until we used them, and then totally sucked, and it didn't really work very well. And then one day they came up with a beautiful idea to separate the tweet. And seriously, you guys, by just doing that one little idea and actually getting the animation right, we were able to settle on this design and actually ship the product, because it was the one gateway that was kind of holding everything up. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. And I fucking guarantee that one, you had best believe me. So this is one that I had built a while ago, exploring a kind of new anatomy for our tweets. And I built in a little toggle so we could test it and see whether or not we should actually that's a lot of clicks. And one more. See if we should put the actions on everything. And I'll tell you what, we lived with this for a day or two and we were like, oh dear God, don't do that. Just took away from what we were trying to do. We were trying to improve the speed and the ability to read and ability to get to stuff quicker. And by introducing this row over and over and over again, it was not accomplishing that goal. And so we come to a little project called Rosetta. And for those of you scholars out there, yes, this is a reference to the Rosetta Stone and being able to translate things. Because we had a design language that needed to be able to be applied to a whole bunch of stuff. All kinds of different devices and screens, and we really needed to expand it a little bit and make it a little clearer how we were going to move forward and apply Twitter's design language. And so we set about letting everyone go to town. And independently, this same style came out. Well, everybody was doing this thing where the avatar and the name of the username, it was all on the same line. And we thought, awesome, this is so rad. We've got a whole new thing, and man, look at this. It enables us to do big photos, and it's really cool, and it's awesome and everything. And then one of us had an idea. Maybe, just maybe, we should turn this into a prototype and test it out and see if we're right. You can't truly evaluate an interface until you can use it, and you can use it until you build it. And honest to God, I've beat this horse to death. I tell this to every designer I work with. Anything less than the real thing is just a fuzzy approximation, and we might just be fooling ourselves. So we set about building a prototype, and man, this was real data we were using. And it showed us what it would be like. Now, this was the Discover section, and we have photos in the Discover section if you use that section at all, and you might realize and recognize some of this, and it felt okay. But then we went over to the home timeline and spent about a week or two with this. And I'll tell you what, by the end of week 1, I was like, hell no, I can't read this thing anymore. Changed the entire way that you process the timeline and made it like you had to jump and skip, and it just didn't feel the same flow. And guess what? Everyone agreed. And so we didn't do it. This is a great quote by David Cole from an article called Designers Will Code. I'm not going to sing it because it's really long. And I encourage you guys to go read the article. It's up on Quora. But he basically is talking about how, at the end of the day, we really just need to get into the browser and into code and into a real development environment as quickly as possible. And that we need more tools that allow us to spend time closer to the actual medium that our stuff is represented in, so that we can design in that same medium. So any of you guys who are tool makers out there, we're waiting. So what did we learn today? Oh man, I'm glad you asked. That we've got to beware of our conditioning. Photoshop, you damn liar. Your hold on us is gonna expire, but we'll still use you to do high fidelity sketching, because sometimes it's really cool, and I can't get those lighting effects quite the same way in CSS3, so sometimes it's actually pretty cool to use Photoshop, but you know, hey, come on. And designing with real data matters because of something called confirmation bias. And HTML and CSS is the new lingua franca. If you didn't know what lingua franca means, it's the common tongue. And I would honestly say that we are definitely firmly in the era where this is the new lingua franca. And you guys are amazing. Thank you for bearing with me. And just remember, lorem ipsum is fucking evil.